Hello and welcome to another Stand Up for Change. Today I have an incredible guest, Suman Kapur. We are so excited to have her in the house. Before I even get to the applause, hold your applause, please. Before I even get there, she is a well-balanced solutions founder, an I Am Remarkable facilitator. She is a coach, a consultant, a national speaker. She's the co-founder of Meeting in the Middle, which I love. And if all of that wasn't enough, she is a mom. Ladies and gentlemen, let's give it up for Suman.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. I'm so excited to be here. Thank you. Thank you, thank you.
Oh my goodness. I love talking to you. You and I get on the horn and I feel like we could just keep on talking. It's just fun. So I love everything that you're doing. I want to start out like I do every single time with guests and ask, even if I were a super fan following you on all social media and thought I knew everything about you, what's one thing, whether it's personal or professional, that you're willing to share with the audience that they may not know?
First, thank you for having me here. I even before we hopped on here, you saw we were going to go over and just chatting on our own. So yes, we can talk forever. I really love this question. So I'm going to share on the personal side. So my dad's older brother and my grandfather were both part of the Indian Foreign Service. And so during the summer times, my family and I were very blessed to travel a lot internationally. So any place they were stationed, we would go visit. I've been to Holland, to Bhutan, which is a country in the valley of the Himalayan mountains. I've been there several times. I've been to Algeria, I've been to France, and of course, I've been to India so many times. So my love of travel started very early. I can't say I know very much travel in the US, but internationally, I mean, London and France, and love travel. So yes.
I love that. And I'm with you. I just have one issue.
Okay.
I don't like flying.
Oh, well, hello. You want to take a boat? You can take a cruise, I guess.
And here's the other problem. I get seasick.
Oh, geez.
So okay. I want to be, when they go through and they start doing the teleporters, I'm going to sign up for that. Like yes. I will be a test dummy for that. That's fine.
Absolutely. In the meantime, you can find everything on YouTube. Everything is on YouTube. Yeah.
Get the goggles and I'll go there virtually. I can like I'm walking around.
Absolutely. Those things are great. But again, little bit of, you might feel a little this thing, but yes, travel is my love. I love traveling. And hopefully I have not taken my children overseas yet, but that is one of my goals, is that we will travel somewhere. I mean, we've done, Jamaica, we've done Mexico, like all of the
cruises.
Side, we've done the cruises, pre-COVID, trying to convince my husband, now it's post-COVID, let's go. And he's a little squeamish. Now in hindsight, I kind of see the squeamish, right?
Funny story, funny segue. Jody has convinced me this year we're going to go on a cruise.
Yes.
And so I'm just going to get the patches.
Yes.
That'll be fine.
It'll be fine. It'll be fine. It really will. And while it might not be the best view, you've got the lower your, the deck that you sleep on, the better, because the higher up you go, the boat rocks harder.
Oh.
The lower you are, there's less rocking.
Jody, why didn't you tell me this? She's in the TV room, she's in the living room, but she's on her phone and she's streaming the show on YouTube.
There's a tip there, Jody. Have a look. It may not be pretty to look. There may not be windows to look out, which is also very helpful too. Then you don't get to see the rocking of the water. So
that's interesting.
Yeah.
Because I mean, they're huge ships. Even the smaller of the ones. I'm looking at them going, thing's massive, but you have all these things that you could do on the boat.
Yep. We love cruises too, but the international travel,
I know.
The memories are fantastic.
Great. I've been to Mexico and Canada, but when I've gone to those places. I lived, like I went to Mexico when I lived in Texas. I went to Canada a ton. Well, when I lived in upstate New York, but more when I was in Montana, and like it's right here.
Yep.
So
Yes. Travel, very important. And thankfully, both my children like traveling. They travel well, so
good.
it's a good thing. Yes.
So you know what? Let's just start out with, who is Suman? Let's just open that can up right now.
Let's just go for it. Well, who is Suman? So she's ever evolving. Just as I think I have figured myself out, I decide to write another chapter. So, but the essence of me remains the same, right? So you mentioned I'm a mom. I am a super uber ridiculously proud mom of two amazing kids. And Chason, you've heard this. My son is a freshman in college,
Yep.
and he is an athlete as well. My daughter is an 8th grader. She too is an accomplished athlete. I'm married to my college sweetheart. We've been together
Oh, wow.
30 plus years, though we've been married for 21 years. And I feel like I get gypped on those anniversary gifts. So we've been together for forever. And just as important, I'm the child of immigrant parents, and that really has created the foundation for who I am. I've been told that I'm a confidant, that I'm a fixer, kind of a problem solver, and that at times I can be a little bit too empathetic. I know that sounds really interesting,
Yeah.
but I tend to hold on to people's problems because I want people to be happy. I want them to be the best that they can be. So I do so much, as much as I can in my power, to help people be the best that they can be, right? So all of this really has come from my upbringing, straddling two different cultures. The Indian culture is very, very different from the American culture. I was constantly bullied as a kid. I smelled of curry. I wasn't invited to a lot of places because my parents, rightfully so, were very strict on social gatherings, right? You have a curfew. Family was number one. All of that, if you got a phone call at the house, my dad was the one who answered the phone. Friends
Yeah.
a little nervous about that, right? Oh my gosh, Mr. Kapur is answering the phone. I don't want to talk to him. So I was kind of on the outside of a lot of things. And because of just, again, the frizzy hair, the different look, right? I grew up in New York City, in Queens, but even that, very Italian Christian neighborhood. And here I am, this brown girl, frizzy hair, immigrant parents, smelling like curry, bullied a lot. But I love my parents for many, many reasons, but so many things with them were lessons. So my parents told me, and they strongly believed, that negative behavior from my classmates was really rooted in lack of education about the Indian heritage. And so what did they do? They invited my class for a meal at the house, at the apartment,
Oh,
right?
wow.
They took food into the classroom and talked about the spices. My dad shared stories about the partition, about the British rule, about the Taj Mahal. And, they started to really understand a little bit about who I was. They got to see a glimpse of my household, which defined so much of who I am. And so what I started to realize is that these differences, I love differences, right? I'm curious. I want to know what makes someone tick. What, even within the Indian community, what's different about us? What makes us unique? But for some people, those differences can be scary, right? It's really alienating. But that is sort of the foundation of who I became. I was trying to figure out ways to create bridges. How do we find common ground? How do we bring people together in conversation? How do we celebrate what makes us unique and special, right? So all that really stemmed from my upbringing. And even to this day, just stories that I share with my parents and that they've shared with me, that things that they've encountered. I mean, growing up, we lived in an apartment building, and my dad started sort of like a tenants association, right? Like, how do we bring everyone together? How do we get to know our neighbors? We live in the city and don't even know our neighbors. And he and another friend in the building started a tenants association. I remember going down there, and he'd be facilitating these meetings about how do we get, the heat fixed or the apartments, checked out faster and more efficiently. And it just to watch him do that. And my mom, she climbed that corporate ladder like nobody climbs a corporate ladder. I mean,
she's delightful, by the way.
Thank you.
She jumped in on one of our meeting in the
Yes.
middle, and I was just like, oh my goodness. Now a lot of you makes a lot even more sense.
Right.
It's like, it was fantastic.
She's my role model, right? She would go to work, totally Americanized, but she'd come home and she'd cook Indian food from scratch, and she would take care of the family, right? Become that mom. And the two of the somehow my dad and she managed to figure out joint decisions. My dad was pretty progressive too, though, right? Like my dad, for an Indian father, he would be the one who stayed home with us when we were sick, not my mom.
Wow.
He was the one. Mom would cook. Actually, my dad, Mom, I love you if you're listening to this or eventually listening. I love you. Dad was the better cook at some things, and if she was cooking, he'd do the dishes. He was the one who really, he was a very progressive guy, I'll tell you that. So,
I would have been over at your house like all the time.
Yeah.
I was in 85th and First on the east side, back when the East Side Park was someplace that was safe to like walk.
Yes.
And I'm telling you, I would have been your friend. Like, I love Indian food. I love curries. And I love explaining to somebody that curry is not like a single spice.
No.
That's a blend of different, like, okay, then the chefy nerd comes out of me. But
I love it.
I would have been over at your house like constantly.
And my mom and dad would have loved it. My mom would have loved it more than my dad. My dad was kind of a quiet guy, very personal. But my mom, she would have, the more people in the house to entertain, the happier that she was, and continues to be. I mean, aging really stinks, right? And COVID kind of threw things for a loop. So she's a little bit more cautious, but loves having people over and entertaining. I mean, I remember parties. Oh my gosh, those parties. We lived in a 2-bedroom, 1-bath apartment in Queens. And they would be like 50 or 60 people at a party on a Saturday night.
Oh my goodness.
The kids were all thrown in one room,
Yeah.
To go play. Music was on. It was great. That's the 70s and 80s, right? People had drinks in their hands, smoking away, having a great time. Now.
Yeah.
Right? But so much of that formed who I am. It's all about community, right? That's what my dad did, and that's what my mom did. Build community. They were one of the first in the 60s wave of immigrants to come from India. They came for education, and as others were coming, they hosted them. They became that host family. They became the people who you went to for information. Where do I go get a job? How do I find apartments? Where's the Indian grocery store? How do we do all of this? Right. And that's what they did. They built community. And that's what I want to do. I hope I do that, is figure out ways to build community in workplaces, in your neighborhood, in meeting in the middle. Like, just how do we build community?
That's awesome. I love that. Love your story. Love that you were in New York. We'll say that you're a New Yorker, and that's
all the time, 1,010%. Heck
Love it.
yeah.
And it's funny because neither one of us sound like we're from there, but
Oh,
and I get that all the time because I've lived in so many places. So people are
but I
like,
can
"Where are you
turn it
from?"
on really easily, Chason.
Can you? That's awesome.
I can. And it's, yeah, very easily. And there'll be times where my kids, I mean, not only the accent, but even the attitude. And there are times where my kids are like, please don't pull New York out. And I'm like,
Oh,
but like if
like
they're
it's
not
a
around, I pull it out a lot easier.
that's
Yeah,
funny. That's
yeah.
funny. So let's talk about what you do and how people can find you.
Yeah. So thank you. All of what I just explained to you, so much of that really made me realize that I'm very, very much a firm believer that those genuine, courageous, respectful conversations and education can really bring us closer as individuals. And so I started Well Balanced Solutions, um, interestingly enough, actually as a virtual assistant business when I had my children. But about 5 years ago, I switched and pivoted
Oh wow.
180-degree different. It was shortly after the shutdown of COVID and right after George Floyd was murdered.
Mm.
I had a lot of friends and colleagues reach out. So my children are half Black. And all through their lives, I've had friends and colleagues reach out when horrible things happen to check in on them, to see how things are going, and to make sure that I have the support and the energy to give to them during those horrific times. And so when George Floyd was murdered, I had colleagues reach out and say, we don't know what to do here. Like,
Oh,
we're trying to get work done, but how do you say you still have a work deadline when this awfulness is happening in the world? How do we create space for that conversation? How do we create a place where people feel safe? How do we show that leniency when we have deadlines looming over us? And so I came in and I facilitated a lot of what I call courageous conversations, creating those safe spaces for conversations to happen. And so now what I do is I work with leaders who really are ready to build those strong, inclusive teams, right? By improving team communication, interpersonal skills, increasing emotional intelligence, having courageous conversations, right? To build space where team members really feel like they belong. They're not just someone who's going to get a task done, right? And also talking about the power of conflict as a way to change, to make positive change. I have a mediation background. I have a master's in conflict analysis and resolution. So trying to get people to see that conflict can actually be very powerful. And so doing this work is challenging because people don't
yep.
recognize the need for creating inclusive workspaces still. We've seen what's happened on the political end with the Supreme Court
Oh,
reversing affirmative action. And so while that is more connected to higher education, spaces of higher education, that's also trickled down into the workspaces, right? So a lot of organizations say, well, if the Supreme Court has turned around and said, we don't need it for higher education, why do I need any sort of tracking system? Or why do we need to create these diverse workspaces? We'll just go on. We don't have to make that extra effort to create that sort of stuff. And so that's sort of the challenge that comes up. And so
sure.
it's a frustrating yet very rewarding space that I'm in. And it's
Yeah.
interesting because, because I tend to deal a lot with empathetic distress and um, burnout, or, what I call passion exploitation. Um,
Ah,
yeah, right.
I love that passion exploitation.
Yeah. Think about that for a moment. Passion, exploitation, switching burnout, right? Burnout is directly to me, but passion exploitation comes from the organization. That is a challenge that the
Wow.
organization is having, not me, or not the individual.
Right.
But I struggle a lot with that. And so people often ask me why I do what I do, right? Why do I care about creating inclusive spaces? Why do I want to help people get along and work at the workplaces? We're adults now. Why do we care about why do I care about this? And I'll tell you, I do it for my children. I do it because they're the top of their class. They're both top athletes. But the first thing people will see is their brown skin. And immediately those biases kick in. And I want to change that narrative, right? I want people to start thinking and working through their own personal equity, inclusion, and belonging journey, right? To sit and understand their biases, understand their microaggressions. We all have them. I have biases, right? We all do. Whether you want to agree with it or not, we all have biases. But the goal is to acknowledge them, bring them to the forefront of conversation, and recognize that what we're doing by our actions, right? And so I do all of this for my kids. I want them to have a workplace and a society with less toxicity, a place where they feel happy, joyous, where they're accepted for who they are. I just want them to have a better world. I know that's a little
No, that's why wouldn't
rose-colored
you?
glasses.
You know what? Besides being a great mom, you care about the universe. After hearing this, man, I have met you and seen you in spaces where I saw some of what you're doing in action, especially meeting in the middle. And then hearing other people talk about some of the things that you do, and then seeing your posts and stuff, I have even greater respect now seeing some of the personal side of and your journey of how you came to this and why you do it. And it's fantastic. We need more people that care like you do and that are helping leaders make those changes, because if we've got so much work to do, even though there's great work that you're doing, there's so much more work to do. And that's what I hear so much from people that are in the DEIAB space. It's like, okay, we're making great strides. There's a lot that's happened over the course of these years, but we've got a lot of work to do.
Yeah. But celebrate the wins, right? This work is exhausting. We have to celebrate the work that we do, right? Those little wins that come through, we have to celebrate them. Otherwise, what's the point, right? Like if we don't celebrate, then we also don't have time to reflect on what worked and how do we make that positive impact.
I love that. I love that. What's your impact report? What have you been doing and what have you done? And I especially take all those little wins. I've learned, and that's been a hard lesson because, when you come from corporate, when you have broken that corporate mold, but when you come from corporate where everything's about, your P&L and all this other stuff and driving and this, having high stats and pushing myself to do better and better and better from that perspective. Now my perspective has changed on what is better. Exactly. And it's better. Someone brought it to my attention, like, hey, are you trying to play that better game and be better, or are you being different and celebrate how you're being different? And I love that.
Yeah, absolutely. And even what is the definition of success?
Yeah, exactly.
What's the definition of success? Your definition might be very different from mine, but both of them are valid. Both of them are right. Both of them are important. And organizations need to recognize that and celebrate the uniqueness that we all bring to the table, the power that we all bring to the table. Again, sometimes when I'm talking, it really sounds like rose-colored glasses, but it can happen, and it does happen. There are organizations out there who are doing the work, who want to make the change, who are putting in the effort, who are, taking the time to invest financially to bring in consultants, right? Sometimes organizations think, oh, we have people who can do that. I'll just read a book. I'll figure out how we can do it. But that's not the right way to do it. You need to have people who have experience, and that's put it in the budget, right?
Yeah.
That is
Make it happen.
Make it happen. I bet if you asked employees, would you like a pizza party or would you like us to bring a consultant to help us figure out how to create a stronger sense of belonging for all of you? I bet they'd say put that pizza money towards a consultant, take a year's worth of pizza parties and pay a consultant to come in so we can figure out how do we create this space where we all are valued for our uniquenesses and celebrated for what makes us different, because all of that is power. Absolutely. People over everything. Yes.
Well, like I knew would happen is we are chewing up time like, it's nobody's business. We could do a 2-hour segment with you. We'll have to have you on again before the year is done.
I'd love it.
What I want to cover 2 things in the short time that we have left. And one is, what is I Am Remarkable? And you're a facilitator. So what does that mean?
Perfect. Thank you for asking that. So Google has an initiative called the I Am Remarkable program, and I am a certified facilitator of that program. And basically what it is women and people of color really haven't been taught or given the space to celebrate out loud their accomplishments, to sort of brag about themselves, right? Growing up, I was told, be grateful for your salary, for your job. Don't rock the boat, right? Just be grateful. You get the, 2% salary, whatever, cost of living increase. Be grateful, right? That was my parents, again, maybe a little bit of immigrant mindset, just be grateful. And so women and people of color tend to be told, be grateful, just don't rock the boat because they might fire you. And so this program provides strategies and tips on how you can talk about I'm remarkable. And it starts with I am remarkable because.
Awesome.
And you outline it all. It's a fantastic program. And so I deliver the program to communities, to organizations. I've done it with the Girl Scouts. It's great. It's a great program. I have fun. I have fun with that program.
I love it. I love it. I love it. We are almost out of time. I want to be respectful. You've got to go pick up the future Olympic gymnast. I know this is going to happen. I'm going to say I knew you win, and we're going to see you on national TV. But you have incredible kids. You're an incredible human being. I want to, I didn't put this in the script, but we've only got a few minutes left. And so I really want to find out. I want to tell people about meeting in the middle. And so real quick, in the last few minutes, tell people what is meeting in the middle. Tell us about Holly. Holly, I can't believe you're not here, but I'm going to see you soon.
Yes. Yes.
So
my dear friend Holly and I co-host a weekly conversation around equity, inclusion, and belonging. Every Friday, we are starting new time. It's at 12 o'clock Eastern. Every Friday, 12 o'clock Eastern. Yes, we just changed that. Every Friday, 12 o'clock Eastern, we come, we spend an hour, and we really open it up to conversation. If people have questions about workspace inclusion, equity, whatever challenges might be having in the workplace, come brainstorm with us. If you are dealing with some sort of challenge, come talk to us. It's all about how do we grow in our journey around this? How can we build that support, the community of support? So much is based on, we talk about the education behind diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging. We create, it's conversation, what's happening in the news, the concern about, the concern around the politics, what's going to happen. Right? Yeah. We just create a safe space for people to come, well, as I like to say, take off your cape and just let it out. We've had, historically, we've had tears, we have celebration, but it's really a place to come and talk about the challenges and brainstorm ideas on how do we come up with solutions.
I love it. I can't wait to jump back in.
Yes.
Hopefully your mom will jump in too. That was awesome.
Right.
And yeah, so it's a great conversation. I try to make as many of those as I
Yes.
can.
Thank you.
But yeah, it's a fantastic group. I love that you guys are doing that.
Thank you.
We are out of time. We have been with the fantastic Suman Kapur. Ladies and gentlemen, give it up.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Chason, you're a remarkable individual. My friend.
So thrilled to have you on. We're going to have to do another one of these segments before the year's done, because I'm sure you'll have stuff to tell us about what's going on.
Yes.
So thank you so much for joining the show. Thank you, everybody who came out. This is Stand Up for Change. We are hr4u.org, fighting for living wage. And you can help every day in your own community where you are. Teach people to put people first. Teach leaders how to prioritize people in their workspace. Thank you so much. Take care, everybody. We're out.